Hello and welcome to Money Life. This is Suchita Dalal. This week, we're going to talk about a Ponzi scheme. And for those of you who don't know, Ponzi schemes actually amount of money from unsuspecting people by promising extraordinarily high returns. And this is a problem in India. It continues. These are mainly unregulated, but it's also a global problem. In fact, the amount lost to Ponzi schemes is in billions of dollars. Okay, even when you look at India, it will be in billions of dollars converted from rupees to dollars, right? So, what are we talking about this week? We're talking about something called Heera Gold. Now, Heera Gold is something that all of you may not have heard because it specifically targets the Muslim community. And it has been marketing itself as a halal investment. Now, what is halal? No, it's got nothing to do with meat, but halal means approved and allowed. So, approved by the community and the religion. So, this is a Ponzi like scheme, believe it or not, run by a woman. Her name is Dr. Nowhera Sheikh, and she calls herself the chairman and CEO of this company. It's been in trouble for a long time. It was a craze from 2010 to 2014. What I'm talking about today is the return of Heera Gold in a new avatar. And this is a truth about all Ponzi's. So don't think it doesn't affect you. They keep coming back. They keep bouncing back in spite of legal action, in spite of investigations by multiple enforcement agencies, as is clear over here. So like I was saying, from 2010 to 12, 14, people were even selling their houses to invest in these schemes. And she had her photos with people around the world. And people thought this is such an extraordinary opportunity. Here's a woman who calls herself a doctor and is finding ways to give mainly the Muslim community fantastic returns because they have serious restrictions on how they can invest their money. Now, what has happened last week? Believe it or not, on 11th September, I get an email in my mailbox which tells me that this time she's back with what she calls digital gold. So, this is a lady who was arrested in 2018. She's out on bail from 2019. She's being investigated by the Serious Frauds Investigation Office, the Enforcement Directorate. There's a lawsuit pending in the Supreme Court where hearings have been going on till June, July, and dates coming up. Nothing matters. Okay, she's back again. Relatively smaller, but the pattern here in Heera Gold is very similar to Sahara, very similar to PACL or Pearls, where in each of these schemes, people have lost over 50,000 crore. In Sahara, I have put the number at 80,000 crore. In PACL, it's 49,000 to 60,000 crore, depending on what is included and whether interest is included. Now, Heera Gold was a gold scheme earlier. Now she's come back as Heera Digital Gold. She says there is an app. She has a long email which explains why this is such a revolutionary and glittering opportunity, her words. And she makes this brazen assertion that the value of digital gold has surged from $2 to a dazzling $44, highlighting its incredible growth potential. Again, her words. There are no details about unit size. There are no details about where on earth has this big surge happened. And there are no details about anything that indicates how and why investment through her app is going to be safer or kept in closed vaults or whatever. The promotional mail has her email ID. I've written to her. There is no response. It claims digital gold through an app offers transparency, security, tracking, real-time value of holdings, all true in general. Is it true here? No details. She says it's stored in secure vaults, eliminating concerns about storage and safety. So first, let's understand what is digital gold. Digital gold is just the digital form of real gold. So you're holding a piece of paper. You don't have to hold the jewelry, or rather the bars of gold with you. That itself is a negative because most people like to wear jewelry and it's also an investment. But here you have a piece of paper saying you have digitally held gold. The value of that gold is supposed to be stored in some vaults. How a all of this is relevant to Heera Gold is not there in her own message. But this is being promoted in a huge way through what is X or Twitter and other social media platforms. And as I've been telling you in the last 2 weeks, it's so easy today to buy media and to buy influencers who will replicate and repeat your message and tell people what a wonderful opportunity it is, seemingly independent of the company, but nothing but a sales promotion. All this is happening with Heera Gold. Now, like I said, let's look at some facts about digital gold. Like I said, this is the digital form of physical gold. Has to be stored in a vault. You have a piece of paper. You don't need to keep it in a safe in your home. What you also have is active trading in gold futures, very legitimate and legal, offered by the Multi Commodity Exchange in India, by the National Commodity Derivatives Exchange Limited. This is futures trading in gold contracts. Have gold prices gone up, as she says? Yes, they have. In fact, especially after the COVID pandemic, people rushed to gold. So prices have gone up. I'm showing you a chart here which talks about how prices have moved from 2018. They have doubled. Okay, so from 2018, when it was about 31,000 for 10 grams of 24 karat gold, it doubled to over 61,000. But look at this chart: 31, 35, 48, 48. And in 2023, it had gone to 61,000 for 10 grams, and it's down from there. It's now below 60,000. So nowhere like $2 to $44. It has doubled, and we don't know what the unit prices that Heera Gold app was talking about. Our concern stems from the controversial background, like I said, of Heera Gold and the lady who has, people have to still recover hundreds of crores from her. And I'm repeating again that relatively Heera Gold is smaller, but if it has the audacity and temerity to come back in a new avatar so soon after its problems, while cases are still going on in the Supreme Court, while Enforcement Directorate is still attaching its property, it is something to worry about because it's going to keep growing and playing on people's greed. Now let's look at a bit of history. Started operations in 2010. In 2012 was the first major complaint filed by Barrister Asauddin Owaisi, who's a member of parliament from Hyderabad. He filed a complaint when several people in his constituency were not refunded their money. But people still continued to give money to her from around the country. And it seriously began to unravel with people taking to the streets, going to the offices, and holding demonstrations from about 2018. From 2016, we at Money Life have been writing to SEBI because we thought this is a collective investment scheme. After long silence, SEBI's Hyderabad office wrote to us saying, this is a Ponzi scheme and it is not being looked at by us, but it's being looked at by the Hyderabad police, their economic offences wing, and the Serious Frauds Investigation Office and the Enforcement Directorate. By then, she wasn't paying people back. There were protests, like I said. Then in 2018 October, she was arrested. By this time, her group was not one Heera Gold. There were 15 companies, including something called IMA. She had got into politics. She had candidates in the Karnataka election, and she's been out on bail since 2019. The investigation continues. As recently as March 2023, this year, the ED has attached 33 crores worth of properties, and hearings are still on in the Supreme Court. There was a last day for people to file their appeals, and cases have been coming up. Now, let's look at why I compare Heera Gold with the big notorious ones. I mean, there have been hundreds in India, okay, but the biggest have been PACL, Stroke Pearls, and Sahara. Why is the comparison important? In PACL, which is Jaipur based, created, instead of gold here, it created units of land. So it says buying land, you could buy a little unit with small amounts of money and conned people by offering incredible returns. People rushed because they thought they're owning a piece of land, didn't know where. All they had is a piece of paper like a mutual fund. This company had the temerity to even try and go public and get legitimate. That's when it rang an alarm way back in 1999. So SEBI started asking questions. The matter went to court. it continued to get one stay order after another, employed really high powered lawyers, and managed to keep the matter sub judice while continuing to fool the people and keep raising money. I've written on all this for a long time. We are showing you links to articles. You'll have to go to Money Life or my website, suchitadalal.com, and take a look at them. Now, the investigations continued, court cases continued. From 20,000 crore, its collection went up to 49,100 crore by 2016, when the Supreme Court finally issued a very hard hitting order and said refund the money and appointed Justice R.M. Lodha, retired Supreme Court judge, to oversee this, and SEBI was supposed to look at it. Now, this money, huge as it is, if you add interest and other costs, it's as much as 60,000 crore, never really comes back. Okay. From 2016 to 23, you want to know how many people got their money back? 1.9 million investors. Sounds like a big number, but the amount is only 919 crore. And they got just 17,000 rupees each. Most of them had invested much more than that. I mean, that amount is meaningless coming after so many years, while the promoters have transferred the money all over the world, largely in Australia. Subrata Roy, even more stunning. In 2012, there was a landmark order when he tried to he raised actually 25,000 crore through two Sahara realty companies. The Supreme Court said, give that money back, SEBI will supervise. Another Supreme Court judge was put in charge of handling it. While that case was going on, while Mr. Roy was arrested, spent a couple of years in jail, he's also out on bail, Sahara went ahead and floated 4 cooperative societies, which sort of fly below the regulatory radar. It's not under any of the major regulators. And you want to know how much it raised over the next few years, from 2012 to about 2020, when just before COVID, he couldn't make payments anymore, and the whole thing began to unravel and explode. 80,000 crore through 4 cooperative societies. This we have written about extensively. It came out because the Central Registrar of Cooperative Societies finally began to look at it, because Sahara, whose investors pre-2012 were unseen, unheard, unknown, was suddenly taking to the streets and holding protests all over, bombarding the regulators with complaints. Finally, want to know what's happened? Remember the number, 80,000 crore. Now, this year, after another Supreme Court order, 5,000 crore has been taken from SEBI, a portal has been created, and people who have lost money are going to be paid back. Nobody has got anything as yet. It's going to start slow, just 5,000 crore out of 80,000 crore. What does it tell you? It tells you cannot be greedy, cannot fall for high profile people. Use your head, think carefully, and Ponzi's will beggar you. So don't fall for these kind of schemes. Ponzi's such as Sahara, PACL, and Heera Gold, and hundreds and thousands of others in each state. You've heard about the Sharda scam, you've heard about alchemy. I'm not going to go into detail, but a common factor is the audacity of the founders, their political connections, their ability to use extremely expensive lawyers, and the fact that they spend humongous amounts on advertising, sponsorships, hire sports stars and film stars to spread their message. So you look at all this and say, bada company hai, if it's so big, it can't be fake. And that's why you make this big mistake, because you don't look at whether it's regulated, you don't look at whether there are returns, you don't look at where the money is invested. What happens is the same investors who ignore every negative report. I mean, remember, Sahara, Subrata Roy was in jail. People were unaffected. They gave so much of money. Same thing could happen in Heera Gold. And this is an early warning. So the same people who ignore every warning, who sell their house and put money here, begin to panic, turn hysterical, suddenly say, police are doing nothing, the government is doing nothing, journalists are not writing about it. And some of them get so desperate. In Sahara, several people have died by suicide. And The pattern is repeating. The very same investors succumb to greed and avarice and look for someone to blame. When you lose that money to a Ponzi scheme, to a money circulation scheme, to a MLM scheme, it never comes back. This is a simple lesson. If you believe what I said, it doesn't have to be only about Heera Gold. It is about many others. Please spread the word, share it with your friends, ensure that they don't lose money, and most of all, subscribe to this channel because we keep issuing these warnings well ahead so that you don't lose money. Thank you.